Alright, in this video I'm going to be showing how to make lentil tacos. As a San Diegan, I love tacos, and I have found that this is a great recipe if you're trying to replace meat in your diet. So let's take a look at what I have going on so far. So first, I've got my lentils cooking right now, which I'm actually going to turn this off because it's pretty much done. So what I did here was I took 1 cup of dry lentils, filled the pot with about 2 inches of water. It's not like rice where you need to have an exact proportion. They recommend about 2 to 3 inches filled of your pot in order to properly cook your lentils. I'm using brown lentils for this particular recipe. It gives it a good flavor. Right now I'm also sweating my onions, so I took my pan and I heated some oil, about 1 tablespoon. I'm using canola oil for this recipe. I personally preferred for this recipe. However, if you have another oil that you would like to use, feel free to use that. Alright, so while this is cooking, which looks like it's going to be done pretty soon, we also need to make our spice for this recipe. So we've got these spices here. You can take a screenshot of this if you are wanting to make this for yourself. I have a asterisk next to salt. This recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of salt. However, I find that to be a little too much. The recipe doesn't need that much salt, and especially too if you end up adding cheese or the tortilla, that's going to have additional sodium. So if you're trying to watch your salt intake, I would recommend either eliminating the salt or reducing it. So I've already gone ahead and made my spice mix, and I used about a 1/4 teaspoon, actually it was more like 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. It's nice to be able to make your own spice blend. I know it takes a little additional time, however I find that those Mexican spice blends aren't something that I personally use often, and I usually have most of the ingredients that you need on hand, so that's a personal preference of mine. Plus I'm able to adjust how much salt goes into it. But if you're in a rush and you happen to have a Mexican blend, then feel free to use that. Alright, so now these onions are looking pretty cooked. We're starting to see that they're looking translucent. Some of them aren't quite there yet, but in the next minute, I think I'm going to go ahead and add our spices. For this particular recipe, I prefer cutting my onions really small. I have one of those vegetable choppers, but it makes the vegetables a little larger than I would like for this particular recipe, so I personally chopped it by hand. There are vegetable choppers that have smaller square settings, so that might be something that you want to invest in, especially if you're someone that really wants to cook but you're finding you don't have the time to cook. There's tools out there that can make your life a lot easier. Alright, so now I'm putting my spice blend into the pan, and I'm just going to quickly mix this up here. And I'm going to take it off of the heat quickly because I don't want the spices to burn. Okay, so now once I have mixed the onions with the Mexican spice blend, I'm going to go ahead and add, remember our pan of lentils, I'm going to go ahead and add that, or I should say pot of lentils, add that to the pan. That's what I was trying to say. There we go. Okay, so then I'm going to mix that up to make sure that everything's even here. Alright, and then once I do that, I'm going to take a 1/4 cup of vegetable broth, so I've already measured it out in this liquid measuring cup, and I'm going to add that to the lentil mixture, give a little more flavor. Then I need to grab, let's see if I can find it. Oh no, where's my, oh here it is, there we go. Alright, so then I take a potato masher, and what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna go through and mash up the lentils to give it more of a smooth texture. It's probably fine to leave it as is. However, I find it's a little more desirable and easier to eat when they're mushed up a little bit. All right, so I have assembled my tacos. We've got whole wheat tortilla, the lentil filling, little bit of cheese, avocado, spinach, and also some hot sauce. So with the wheat tortilla, the hot sauce, and the cheese, that's going to have additional sodium, which is why I intentionally chose to limit the amount of sodium that I put within the lentil mixture itself. Another thing to note, lentils are not a complete protein. They are missing some amino acids, which is why I complemented it then with the whole wheat tortillas in order to make sure that we now have a complete amino acid profile and that our bodies will better absorb and utilize those essential amino acids. Like I said, I was going to have my husband taste test the tacos. Here he is.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, let us know what you think. Because see, it's one thing for me to taste them when I'm the nutrition person, but it's another for someone else who used to like meat a lot. And then when we first got married, I said, hey, let's try more plant-based meals. And first he wasn't too thrilled about that suggestion, but now
It's good.
it's good. So now we eat a lot of lentil dishes, tofu, beans, etc. We do eat some meat, but we try to incorporate more plant-based protein sources. So that is all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed learning how to make lentil tacos.